Welcome, everybody, to the Fox Den, where leaders gather to grow. This is Randy Fox, along with my brother, Stephen Allen Fox.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Yeah, we're kicking off 2026. And just to give our listeners a little bit of an update, we're going to be bringing you an inspiring impact each episode now, as well as a trending topic, and of course, diving deep um, with some practical insights from stories and things for inspiration. And yeah, let's jump right in. You ready to go?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right. Well, I'm going to kick us off today with an inspiring impact story that we're going to chat about, and then in our back half, Steve's going to throw a trending topic on the table. And we're kind of making this fun is that I haven't told him what the inspiring impact is. And right, Steve, you haven't told me what the trending topic's going to be. So this is going to be very organic, in the moment.
That's right. Some people may actually pre-record and edit their podcasts. We're all live.
We're just going to do it here, right? We're just going to do it. So inspiring impact. I last week family was really blessed, and we were able to get a break and take a vacation, and we went on a cruise, and we were out in the down on Royal Caribbean, and stopped off in Mexico in a couple spots. And what really struck me was, and people will always say, well, of course people are doing things because they want your business, but really struck me was the level of care that these people, in particular on the ship, offered, their service level, but the way that they did things. But most notably, we went snorkeling one day, and our tour guide was Ronaldo, and we were near Costa Maya. And he took us from the dock all the way to our transportation, to the boat, was with us at the water, and then took us to a beach break at another spot. But how he communicated with each person, how he spoke to people, he was funny, he was caring. It wasn't really just about the money. He cared deeply about the environment, that each person understood the benefits, instructions, was having a good time. It was a very small group. There was only like 20 of us. And it really just struck me how so many times I go out to dinner here in the States, and there can be good service, but I always feel like so many of them are just trying to, it's just a job. They just check the box. They're working for a tip, and they're expecting that tip. And these folks were totally different. They were so appreciative that we were there. And granted, they were all from different countries, right? Everybody working on the ship. Ronaldo, obviously, from a very poor area in Mexico. And they were so gracious, so thankful that we came. There wasn't an expectation of a gratuity. It was, I see you, I'm thankful for you, and I want to do anything I can for you today. And I just was really thinking about how inspiring that is, that here we have people in the States, and more particularly, that there's so much money and so much opportunity, and yet we kind of can get caught up going into the motions, and just we do the job because we want people to pay us more or come back again. And these people are just so thankful, and the difference in how they spoke, and then how they smiled, and how they interacted. And some of these people on the cruise ship I saw multiple times a day, every day, and they're on the ship for 7 months, working 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 7 months. You can fake serving somebody one moment, but these folks are doing it 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 7 months, and they are so grateful to do it. And it was inspiring. Sure, I was on vacation, but I was so inspired by these people who are away from their families, for 7 months, serving other families with the most gracious, humble hearts. It was amazing. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that two things come to mind. One, on the personal level, um, I think you bring up an interesting point that here in the United States, where so much is made available to us, and we have access to so much. I mean, the way the statistics that they tell that if you live in the United States, even if you're on the poorer side of things, you're still in the top 1% of worldwide economics. I think we lose sight of the spectrum across the world of the way people live, and I don't just mean the poor countries. We just have access to things that most people don't. We have opportunity that most people don't, and we start to take that for granted. And then you see, people out there that appreciate things in a different level than maybe we do. But I think it goes even deeper than that. And this is where my second thought comes in. I think that's also a testament to the company that runs that cruise ship or whatever business we're talking about. It could be, out here in California, it could be In-N-Out Burger, which is known as a place with some of the best service. It could be, a Disney theme park anywhere in the world that's always known for great service. It says something about the company with the kind of hiring process, the kind of training process, and kinds of standards they expect, as well, most likely, of how they're probably treating their people, for the people to turn around and treat others that way. That company is finding certain types of people, training them a certain way, and then treating them a certain way so that they can make sure by the time the service gets to you, you see and experience something that company wants to make sure you experience. So I see both sides. It's that personal side where that person's a certain type of person and it can make us inspired by it. But then as a business, it's also inspiring to see that a business cares enough about their customer service to actually make sure those types of people are actually the direct contacts to their customers, because that is the first contact point for a business. It is that person. So,
Well, I have to. I gotta give you a little absolutely correct. I agree with you. I think that you're right on the money. And with that second one, let's just talk about my story last week. Royal Caribbean has about 30 cruise ships that are, you know, out in the sea taking people around the world. And those cruise ships have anywhere from, 1 to 2,000 crew members on them. And then you have all the corporate people, whatever, right? So just take Royal Caribbean as an example, right? You have we're talking about tens and tens and tens of thousands of employees. And you're right, the ability to hire. You made me think of something that one of the employees was sharing, and they said, anytime that at the end of the week, he said, "What did you guys think of our service? We're so thankful." You're going to get a survey. And they said that they receive incentives based on the quality of service that they deliver and the feedback that we as the customer, right, provides. And we were like, well, what's one of the incentives? Remember, I said they are on the ship. Their contract is 7 months typically. They work 10 to 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 7 months. When they get to a port, if they have incentives, right, and one of their incentives might be that they would get, if they're working in the dining room, let's say, one of their incentives might be that they would get a meal off. And what that would mean is that for 3 hours at that port day, they get an extra 3 hours that they could leave the ship, or that they could just rest and they don't have to work. And they're so appreciative of those breaks so that they can refuel, right, to do what they do. So like you said, it's the employees are caring for the customer because the company is caring for the employee.
Right. I
And
think that's a very important thing. Sometimes that's overlooked by companies when it's all about the bottom line or it's all about productivity. Um, even in the school system, I think one of the biggest flaws, having spent 10 years in a high school myself and a few years as a substitute teacher, and my wife has, taught for 26 years. One of the biggest flaws I see, at least out here in this area in California, with the public school system is things are set up in running in such a way that the health and morale of a school's staff becomes totally dependent on how well that principal can lead them, as opposed to the higher level administration going all the way to our government, not just of a school district, but even all the way to the regulations that are made at a higher level, instead of the higher ups recognizing that if we want our campuses to be successful, we need to put the administrators into a position that they can best lead their staff and not be worried about the red tape above them that we've created for them. And that's the biggest complaint you have, is that the principals, most of the time, are not able to focus on their staff because they're dealing with all the bureaucracy of everything above them so that they can meet certain criteria. And then you wonder why the teachers become unhappy. Well, then what happens from that? The students don't get the education they want. The parents get upset, and it just becomes this wicked cycle. But going back for a second to also what we were talking about on the personal level, the types of people. I mentioned Disney earlier. We know somebody who, I'll say this in the way that is necessary so that no myths are ruined, especially for our younger generations. We personally know somebody who is, quote unquote, best friends with Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. And when you talk to this person outside of that setting, the personality, you're like, there's no other job this person could do. I mean, this is who this person is. The way they move, the way they talk, the way they do things. And it's like that level of being able to find the right people and have those people treat other people a certain way and put them into a role that is perfect for them. That doesn't happen by mistake. That's a culture. That's a business that has figured out the right way to go about finding people, hiring people, training people. If you've ever talked to somebody who works in the Disney theme parks, and they all know that if you're pointing a customer in a certain direction, you have to point with two fingers, not with one, because in some cultures, pointing with one finger is considered an insult. So they always have two fingers out when they point. But what's funny is you can tell that's not just, I'm doing it because my job tells me to. I've known people that work in the theme parks that when you're just out and about with them and they're not even working, and you happen to go, do you have any idea where such and such is? When they point, it's with two fingers. It's like it becomes a part of them. Again, that's training. They've got, I don't know anybody who hasn't worked in Disneyland as a customer service type of cast member that when I talk to them, it's like they're just kind people. They're nice people. They're energetic people. And it's just like what you experienced. It's finding those types of people that fill your role. But I think the underlying thing behind that I think of is this. That means the culture of that business and of those executives is more about the people than it is about the product or the position they're trying to fill. Because to have the right people, you have to know the people that you're interviewing. You have to know who they are. You have to care about who they are. to make sure the right person gets in the role. And if that's how much you care about the person during the hiring process, to find that right person and to put them into the right role, you care about learning who they are to that degree, that's just going to carry over into the way you treat them when they're actually working for you.
Well,
And
yeah,
it,
and I think before we get to our trending topic here, I mean, you're right on. I guess I would want to wrap this up for our listeners to say, obviously we're talking about what does it look like for your culture to take the time to hire and to the right people, to train them effectively, develop them, give them incentives. Like you said, whether it's education or it's a business, it doesn't matter the organization, you have to have the culture of people first to deliver and sustain what you want. And ultimately, I would just challenge everyone listening to go one step further and then say, am I that person?
right.
Am I the kind of person that is kind and caring? Am I the kind of person that is leading well? But am I the kind of person that these organizations would want to hire? And we aren't perfect, but I think that's really the ultimate challenge, as you said, is that you can read through the fakeness. It takes quality people. It takes exceptional people to deliver exceptional service. And I'm not interested in results for a day, right? We want to have exceptional lives and exceptional results and be excellent in what we do for a long time. And really, the question is looking in the mirror. If you're listening, are you that person?
Well, and I think you can even go even one step further. And it's like, not just are you that person, but what type of experiences and people do you want to be around? These people that treated you that way with that service, if they're treating you that way, they know you're going to be happier. And now as they spend that time with you, that also makes them happier. They're setting up an environment for you to be relaxed and happy, which then in turn makes them be able to have more fun, be more relaxed and happy. So it's be that person, but not just in treating other people that way. It's like be that person, because if you treat the people around you that way, you're going to attract more people that are also like that. And then you're just going to be happier yourself, both because you're treating people that way and because that's the kind of people that you're now attracting around yourself.
Yeah, no time for stinking thinking. A friend of mine, Steve Rich, always used to say. Well, with that, I'm going to say
Yeah.
it's time for our trending topic.
All right. So here we go. Yesterday, or last night, I guess, was the Grammy Awards. And something that seems to be a typical controversial topic after just about every awards show there is. And we don't need to get into the specifics of what people are talking about or why they're talking about it, because at every award show, it's many times a different topic that is being brought up. But it seems like at the award shows, a controversial thing afterwards always is, should winners of competitions like the Oscars and the Grammys, should that be an opportunity for them to share their society or political views with the audience who is watching? And again, without getting into any specifics of what the topics are, of what we actually think about the topics, I'm just curious, is that something that bothers you or does not bother you when watching on a show like that, when their acceptance speech becomes a statement about their perspective or their opinion on something in society? Does it bother you? And is it really even I guess we'll just start there. Does it bother you when they do that?
Yeah. Well, and like we told our listeners, I had no idea what your topic and question was going to be, and what a great one. Um, I'm going to answer it in two parts. You didn't ask the first part, but I think it's related. Uh, I think in general, are these self promoting award shows where within their own industry they're honoring people. There's some value in acknowledging people. I like the Kennedy Center honors when we're acknowledging a lifetime type of thing. But most of these award shows have gotten to a point where it's just like, what are we really doing, right? We got multi-billionaires that, and then they have their own thing. And it then leads me to your second point, which is it absolutely bothers me so much because if you're going to watch it, which I do not watch the shows. And in part, there's many reasons that I don't watch them. But one of them is what you just said. This is not the place for you to share whatever your personal situation is. If someone is tuning in because they want to see their favorite blank, whatever it might be, somebody perform, receive the award, whatever it is, I'm not interested in you shoving your agenda, whether I agree with it or not, down somebody's throat. I think it is the wrong place. And it's one of many reasons that I don't watch the shows. I enjoy watching performances, but when it comes to the awards coming out and the acceptance speeches, if I even choose to watch a show, which I did not watch the Grammys, because I think it's one of the most challenging ones for doing exactly what you said. A lot of political agenda things, and it's just like, not interested. That's not what the show's about, but that's what they want to make it about. And to me, it's not, it's exact opposite of being what we were talking about in the first half of this episode of how you want to create cultures and serve people and be around those kind of people. I'm not interested.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why it bothers me the most, because I'm with you. Whether I agree with what the person is saying or not, um, when it's not, sometimes I've seen people give an acceptance speech where a almost society or political statement comes out of their acceptance speech, but it's not because they're trying to make a point. It's because something within the acceptance speech and personal statement relates directly back to why they appreciate it so much or why they worked so hard because of XYZ reason. That's different than when someone takes a moment to make a statement unrelated completely to anything related to them or anything else because they feel this is an important enough thing to say. I have a platform to help our world be better, so I'm going to stand up and say it. And here's the main reason it bothers me, regardless of whether I agree or not. We live in a world where, people in general, our society has gotten to a place that when it comes to any person with gigantic amount of money or huge amount of fame or quote unquote success measured by money or fame, we live in a society where that becomes idolized and put on a pedestal. And suddenly an individual's opinion becomes more important simply because they chose a career and happened to be lucky enough that within that career, they gained a lot of publicity and fame. And suddenly that idolization takes a personal statement that if you were just talking to a nobody on the street, you would take as their 2 cents. And because of their fame, it turns it into worthy in our eyes meaning society, as more than just their 2 cents. People take that on. And if, especially if you take teenagers or younger who are still, their mind is still shaping and they see whoever it is that is somebody they have huge amounts of respect for simply because they wrote their favorite song. They're really, really famous. They see them in the videos. This is somebody I want to grow up to be like. Anything that comes out of that person's mouth, they are going to take as gospel, sometimes even above their own parents' comments. And it is not okay to use your fame to shape a person's opinion that isn't even shaped yet maturity-wise, simply because you think your opinion is more important. It's not right. And that undermines the family values. It undermines society values. It undermines the entire concept of trying to build a mature person. But, and then when you add social media and technology on top of all of that, it all plays the same role. We hear fake news all the time. We hear how bad media has gotten on exaggerating this, taking this too far. Whether it's a Fox News or a CNN, that you can go to either extreme, whether it's right or left, it doesn't matter. They're all exaggerating the news, and they're all wording it in such a way to kind of manipulate how it's presented. But at least when you go to watch one of those stations, you know it's going to be exaggerated to whichever side because you know that media outlet. But when this person gets up there and says that opinion, that's just adding to that fuel. And that's not why they were given fame and a lot of money. This isn't Barack Obama, who was voted president 2 different terms, standing up, giving his opinion, and we all know what it's going to be, and that's fine. Or somebody from the Bush family or whatever. We know what they stand for. We understand that, and that's what their entire career was centered around. These are people given a lot of fame and money because they know how to write and sing a good song. Sing the song, share your opinion someplace else, and keep it out of the way, whatever the opinion is, because that's not your right in that moment. I think the people who have the fame and maybe step up by saying, I'm going to go out and start an initiative and get some movement around a certain thing, and they're like giving themselves focus in society to go do that, that's different. They're taking their free time and their energy to put it towards something they believe in. And you know what? That's great. And you have an opportunity to do it because you happen to have more money and more fame. But in the award show, that's not why we're watching. And unfortunately, they still do it. I mean, a few of them did it last night, but.
Yeah, which is, like I said, I don't want to watch it for that. But at the end of the day, to end on a positive note, I think what we're saying is that there is an opportunity to be influential, to help others, and not necessarily push an agenda. Back to the inspiring impact, right? The inspiring impact is, how do we become a person and create a culture that takes care of other people at the highest level, and not utilize, as you're saying, it's the wrong timing. It's the wrong venue. This is supposed to be about acknowledging talent and work and celebrating that. And then suddenly, out of left field, instead of thanking the people that helped them get to that stage, they turn it into an agenda and a rally cry. And I think it's interesting that we didn't plan this, but it's very dichotomic shift, right, in how our culture is operating. And I know that's why we're doing this, is that we want to help people be more of the first half of the conversation and making an impact in a positive way, and utilizing their talents and their time to help people in their lives, not get up and rip on politicians or talk about something that they don't agree with in some law that was passed, or whatever it may be. And well, we've been talking for a while, and the time goes fast, but we probably need to let people know we're about to wrap up. Longer than a golf clap, right?
I bet they didn't know that this show was recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Well, until we chat again with everybody the next time, we'll be coming to you on your favorite podcast platform. We want to make sure that you're always growing as a leader, serving others with excellence. And if Steve or I can help you in any way, you can reach me, Randy Fox, at foxpoint.net. And you can reach Steve at
StephenAllenFox.com. And, please, if you have any ideas of things that maybe you'd like us to talk about, because it might help you in some kind of a way, pass them along to us.
Yeah, we'd love to have your feedback. And we wish you all well. We'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye.